Hey guys, welcome back everybody. So we have seen the VTP protocol. Can anyone tell me what is VTP? Anyone can tell me what is VTP protocol?
Virtual trunking protocol, sir.
What is I didn't ask for the full form. What is the meaning of VTP? What is the use of VTP? It's not a virtual trunking protocol. It's a VLAN trunking protocol. So basically, let me tell you, the VTP is a protocol that's provide the centralized management to the VLAN data to the VLAN, right? So we have a multiple mode. If you guys remember that we have a
Parallel mode, client mode, and transparent
client
mode.
mode, and then we have a transparent mode, and then we have a off mode as well, right? So normally in the server we can clear, delete, and modify the VLAN. In a client mode, we cannot do anything. We just receive the VLAN and pass the VLAN. In the transparent mode, you can do everything, right? But locally, off modes just disable the BTP on a particular switches, or you can disable the BTP on a per interface basis as well as, right? So we already have seen the all the BTP concept, right? And also, if you guys remember that we have seen the concept of the BTP version 1 and version 2 as well, right? But we are remaining with the version 3 as well only. So the question is that why BTP version 3 comes in the picture? What's the reason behind it? So there's a lots of problem in the version 1 and version 2, right? If I talk about the higher level, there is a lots of problem. In the lower level, like, if you have a very small network, like if you have a 10 switches, 5 switches, then you can go with the BTP version 1. That's fine. There is no issue. But if you have a like a requirement of the more than 2000 VLAN, more than 1000 VLAN, right? Where you have a more than 10,000 users are sitting in the network, you have a 20 plus switches in your network, right? Then you need to go with the version 3. Because the first issue with the version 1 is what, right? If you see the first issues, right? Issues with version 1 and 2 is what? The version 1 and 2, right? It only support the standard range of VLAN. It only support standard range of VLAN. A standard range of VLAN means what? You can create the VLAN from 1 to 1005. That's all. You cannot go beyond that one. So take example, if you have a requirement of the VLAN more than 2000 or more than 1000, you cannot go with the version 1 and version 2. Second issue with the version 1 and version 2 is what? Authentication. If I talk about the authentication, right? Authentication we have in the clear text. So take example, if I'm going to put the password BTP password on the command line and say the BTP password is a CCI. So if any third party is coming and log into your device, for example, I just apply this BTP password in the switch one, right? And after some time, what happened? There's another person XYZ. He's trying to log into this particular box because this guy has a BTY access, the telnet as such. He took the access of this device, and he can easily see the BTP password, whatever the BTP password you have configured it. So that's not a secure one, right? Third way, if I talk about the problem, the BTP version 1 and 2 is what? Like take example, if you want to do the private VLAN configuration, right? So the private VLAN configuration is not flooded in the version 1 and version 2. What do you mean by the not flooded? Take example, if you guys remember that the concept of the private VLAN, so switch 1 we have, right? And we have a switch 2 right now, and we have a switch 3. So take example, I just configure the one VLAN over there. So normally in the normal VLAN, what happened? I'm talking the standard VLAN. If I'm gonna create the VLAN number 10 over there, so BTP will flood this information 10 over there and 10 over there, right? There's no issue. So all the devices have a 10, 10, 10. If I'm gonna create the 20 over there, so they will flood the 20 information to the all the devices 20 will have over there. So there is no issue in the normal VLAN. Normal VLAN or a standard VLAN, there is no issue, right? There's no issue. But take example, if I have a requirement, right? If I'm gonna create the VLAN, VLAN 100, and I'll say this guy, hey, you know one thing, this is the private VLAN, right? And this private VLAN part of the community VLANs, right? So if I'm gonna make this guy a configuration, then what happened? I can only do on the switch one. I cannot flood this information to the switch two, not even the switch three. It means that the same configuration you need to do on the switch two as well. The same configuration you need to do on the switch 3 as well. So the private VLAN information is not flooded in the version 1 and version 2. Same way what happened, another issue we have. MST configuration is also not flooded. in version 1 and version 2. So we have a issue, right? We have lots of issues. See, again, if I'm talking, it doesn't mean that we are not using the version 1 and version 2. We are, what I told you, that's the beginning of the point. If you have a small network, go with the version 1 and version 2, that's perfect one, right? But if you have a big network where you have a multiple switches, where you have a multiple private VLAN configuration, MST configuration, you have a more than 2000 VLANs of requirement, you have more than 10,000 users, you have to go with the version 3. So again, MST configuration in the sense of what? For example, if I'm going to do that MST configuration, I'll say that, okay, I'll configure this guy's instance number, instance number, what I can call the VLAN number 10, 20, and 30. So this information, this MST information will be not flooded to the system. I need to log into the system and do the same configuration over here. So management wise, right? If you see the management wise, the version 2 and version 3 is not a scalable. Simple language, version 1 and version 2 is not scalable in the management perspective or configuration perspective. Because if you have a private and MST configuration, you need to do on a every devices box to box. Simple logic, you need to do the box to box configuration. Same traditional comes in the picture. Another issue, if you see, the private VLAN is what? Sorry, the version 2 and version 1 is what? If you remember that, right, in the normal BTP, what happened? We have this guy's a server, right? And this guy's a client, right? This guy's a server, this guy's a client. So take example, if this guy is also server, right? Their default mode is server. So in this case, what happened? If I'm going to create the VLAN 1020 over there, it will pass on to the 1020 on sys 2 and 1020 on sys 3. But what happened? This guy, there's a network engineer. He said, hey, I don't want 10 now. So what happened? This person has the ability. So try to understand, this is the network engineer who has created the VLAN number 10. But somehow what happened? The sys 3 also behave like a server. The another network engineer, he said, hey, I don't want a 10 now. So what happened? This 10 will be removed from the every database. So problem is what? In the version 1 and version 2, all the switches, right, in the network is behave like a primary server. Primary server in the sense of what? Anyone can delete and remove and modify the database. Anyone can. There is no security in the configuration perspective. All the switches is behave like a primary server. There is no concept of the secondary server. If you see, this is also primary, this is also primary. So anywhere, just a small total. Take example, if you have 100 plus switches in your network, then what happened? All the 100 plus switches network behave like a primary server. So that's another issue in the MST we have. All the switches is behave like primary server. All those switches is behave like a primary server. Another issue is that if you remember that in the private VLAN, what happened? All the configuration you are doing in private VLAN, all the configuration you are doing on transparent switch, right? That's a requirement. If you guys remember that, that's a basic requirement, right? You must have a switch as a we have like a trans, then you can do the private LAN. But in the version 3, we don't have this issue. We can do the configuration on the switches, any switches. We can do this configuration on the server switches. So these are the issues we have. See, apart from there's a lots of issue, and simple language I can call as a, in a very simple language I call as a, we have an issue with the reliability. We have an issue with the scalability, and we have issue with the flexibility. These are the issues we have in the, right, in the version 1 and version 2. To overcome all these issues, right, to overcome all this issue, we came with the solutions called the version 3. So this is the all solution for the version 3 right now. By default, version 3 is disabled, right? You need to enable it. To enable the version 3, the most and basic requirement that I already told you that, right? If you guys remember that, to exchange the BTP packets, right, you must have Trump. That's a first requirement. Second requirement is what? For the version 3. For the version 3 perspective, right? The first requirement is what? You must configure domain name. If you don't configure the domain name, right, you cannot enable the BTP over there. I can change the version 1. I can change the version 2. They will not give you any kind of error message. They will not throw the any kind of error message. But if you're going to change to the version 3, they will ask you, hey, please do the configuration for the domain name first. Then I will come in the picture. So if you see right now, let me open my topology. So VTP version 3 is not making a centralized management for the VLAN, right? I'll simple and I'll make it this guy. VTP version 1 and 2 is only provide centralized management. Provide centralized management to VLAN. Only VLAN, right? If I talk about the version 3, right, provide centralized management to VLAN, for VLAN, MST, and private VLAN. So another major difference is that in a simple language, if you're going to explain someone in an interview, that's a simple way. And these are the issues that we can see that in the version 1 or version 2. To exchange the video packets, we must need to have this configuration. All done. So let's come to the point. I have a VTP there. So let me wipe up my all configuration. I don't know what config is there. Okay. Okay, the first thing, if you see one thing, I'll make this guy just switch one first, host name switch one. This guy switch two, host name switch two, and this guy switch three, right? The first and basic requirement is what? We just need to configure the trunking, right? So interface range is 0/0 to 1. Come on. Switch port trunk encapsulation dot 1Q. Switch port mode trunk, right? That's the first requirement. Default mode, if you see that, so interface trunk, you can see that I both have a trunk, right? On the switch 2, we have a trunking is there. So the most and basic requirement is what? If you first see that show version, so VTP status, the VTP is by default enabled, but enabled with the version 1, and we are operating in the server mode. Even if you see on any devices, right? So VTP status, so we have a server, and default is the version 1 over there. And the maximum VLAN supported is what? Only I can support the 1005. I cannot go with the beyond that one. So the range of the VLAN is what? We have a range is 4094, right? 12-bit. So even if you see the do show VTP status, I only have a basic, right? What I can do that, if you go on the switch 1 and say that, hey, listen, a VTP version and say the 3, what they will throw the error message, hey, domain name configure first. But if I'm going to say the VTP version 2, I can do that. I don't have any issue over there. So for the VTP version 3, it will always throw the error message. So basic requirement, what you can do that, I just need to go and configure the domain name over there. I say the domain name is CCI. Let me configure the domain name with CCI as well. So why it's saying the set over there? Because when the switch one has sent the BTP packets to the switch two, he said, okay, let me synchronize the VLAN domain name for you. Because by default, the domain name is what? It's a null. Do show BTP status. Let me see has it synchronized or not. It's synchronized. Right. So now what I can do that I can change the version 3. So BTP version 3 now. So there will be no issue. Same thing. You need to change this version 3 on every device. That's the only like a painful job that you have to do that. So you need to do this configuration on every device, right? The version 3 configuration. Now I can see the one thing and most important part is what? Do show BTP status. Can you see my database will be changed totally? So previously my data was something like this. Only this amount of database we had, right? That's amount. But now if you see that we have a VT version 3 is running, amount of database has changed now. You see that? Now we have lots of things. Even if we have MST over there in the downside, and we have something feature unknown. So we have a lots of things over there. The first thing that you have to understand what, so we have domain name is CCI and version 3 is enabled. Do so VTP status. Of course, over here also you can see that. And same thing on this guy. Default mode. Now I understand the concept. The default mode of the VT version 3 is what? Default mode in VTP version 3 is secondary server for VLAN. Okay, for VLAN, what I told you that. Understand this line again. Centralized man for the VLAN and state private VLAN. So only for the VLAN, what happened? The default mode is the VT version 3 is the secondary server for the VLAN. So it means that now we have a concept of what? Now we have a concept of the primary VLAN as well. So in a simple language, I can call this guy like this way. Version 3 has a concept of what? Has a concept of the primary server, right? And this guy has a concept of the secondary server. Simple language, right? So BTP version 3 has a concept of the primary server and secondary server. Apart from this thing, you already have a client mode, you already have a transparent mode, you already have a server mode, you already have a off mode. So these things are already there. But apart from this thing, version 3, the issue with the version 2 is what? You only, all the switches is behave like a server, right? But in this case, what happened? I can make this guy the one as a primary server and remaining all they go with the secondary server. So all the configuration you can modify only on this guy. All the configuration you can modify on primary server only. You cannot do any kind of configuration on the secondary server. Secondary server is behave like a client. I can behave like it. It's not a client, it's behave like a client. I can receive the information, pass the information, or install the database. That's all. But default behavior is what? The default mode of the VT version 3 for the VLAN only, it's secondary. So if you see right now, the first of all, have a look. So we are on the switch one right now. The VTP operating mode is server. It doesn't mean that it's a primary server. It's a secondary. Same thing if you see in the switch 2, secondary. Switch 3, second. This is for the what? This is for the VLAN. But if you see for the MST is what? It's a transparent. We'll talk about later. Leave it right now. For the VLAN, it's server. But which server? It's a secondary. Sorry?
Sir, if primary goes down, then can you promote secondary?
Hold on. I'm not done. Hold on. So if this guy's a server, right? So take example, can I create the VLAN over there? VLAN 10? No. Can I create the VLAN 10 over there? It still is behave like a server? No, you cannot do that. Can I do that over there? No, I cannot do that. The reason is saying that, hey, BTP configuration is not allowed when the device is not in the primary server. So what I told you that only you can do the configuration in the primary server, not in the secondary server. Secondary server is behave like a client. So what you have to do that, you need to make this guy the first primary server. All the configuration you're going to do in the privilege mode. So as a BTP server is what? Primary and for the VLAN. That's all. So this system is becoming the VLAN. So it will take some time. Hold on for the 10 seconds. Now done. What is the MAC address of the switch 1 and switch 2 and switch 3? The MAC address of the switch 1 and switch 2 and switch 3 is what? It's 100, right? 0, 100, the last octet, right? So once this guy become the primary server, right, then what happened? This is the primary server right now. This is my secondary server. This is my secondary server. Then what happened? He will send the masses, VTP masses to the switch to, hey, listen to me. Listen, I'm the primary server. I'm the new daddy right now. So he will be the new daddy. He will got the install and he will say that, hey, the primary is the 0, 100. So your new daddy is going to inform to the all the old daddy, hey, I'm the new daddy right now. So he's the primary server is going to inform to everybody. So you can see that I'm sending the VTP message to every person right now. 0, 100. That's the MAC address of the switch 1. So now if we go to the switch 1 now and say the show command, show VTP status again. What you can figure out, some information is now extra added. What few information extra? Previously, you can see that. Do I have any information regarding the primary ID of the? It's 000. Right now, you can see that primary server is this guy. That's a switch 1. Now I can support is what? 4096 VLAN. And the primary ID is what? This guy who is the, what's the name of the primary ID? Switch 1. So now if you see, now the database is not there. So let me put the command again. And now you can see that things have changed. But this is my secondary server. This is my primary server. So again, if you see under this guy, do show VTP status. My primary server is this guy. Now I can get the VLAN on the switch 1 right now. If you go to the VLAN 10, do show VTP status. I have VLAN 10 right now. Do show VLAN brief. I have VLAN 10 and do show VLAN brief. So I just created on the switch 1 right now, the VLAN number 10, and it will flood this information to the switch 2 and switch 3 as well. So if you see the VTP status, your revision number also had changed now. Previously, it was 0, then it will become the 1 after configuring the primary server. And then now at 10, I have configured the VLAN number 10. So first it was 0, then I configure the primary server, it will become the 1, and then I'll configure the 10 VLAN, then it will become the 2 over there. So now if I'm going to configure this guy's what VLAN number 20, I can do that, man. I have this information of 20 and do so VTP status. Revision number now will become the 3 of them. Same thing, do so VTP status. I have a 3 revision number. Yeah, Javed. So now if you see that VLAN number, another beauty you can see that I can create the VLAN number 2600 as well over there. Do so VLAN brief. Can you see that? Now I have a 2600 VLAN. Do so VTP status. Previously the revision number was 3. Now it's become the 4. Concept that you have to focus over there is what? Number of existing extended VLAN is what now? 1. Previously it was how much? 0 was there. So now if I'm going to synchronize again, put the VTP status, I can see that I have a 1 over there. Same thing, I have a 1 over there. So you do have ability, you can create the extended range of VLAN as well on the server. Can I do the any kind of configuration on the switch 2 right now? Because it's also server. No, we cannot do that. I can make the 40 of them. I cannot do that because I'm not a primary server. So only the configuration that you can do only on the primary server, not on the secondary server. Secondary server, you cannot do any kind of configuration. So even if I'm going to say that VTP mode will be what? Client, right? I'll just put the VLAN. So what happened? Do show VTP status. So it's the client mode. So what is the behavior of the client mode? I can just receive the information, pass the information. So if you see that, I said the VLAN number 500. do show VLAN brief. I have a VLAN 500 over there on the switch 1. What I can do that, switch 1 is going to send this information to the switch 2. Switch 2 is going to accept the information and it's going to increase the revision number. Right? And I said the do show VLAN brief. I have a 500 over there, or I can pass this information to the switch 3 as well. 5 and brief. Same behavior like a client, like a same version 1 and version 2. If I'm going to make this guy the VTP more transparent, what is the behavior of transparent? So if I'm going to create the any VLAN on the switch 2, switch 1 right now, that's for example 100 will come to the switch 2. Switch 2 is behave like a transparent. I'm not going to install it. It will just pass the information to this guy. So switch 2 will not have 100, but switch 3 will have 100 over there. 100 is there on the switch 1. Switch 2, it's not there. Switch 3 is there. Same behavior like off mode as well as, right? For example, if I'm going to say the VTP mode is off, it means that what now I've segregated the domain. Segregate the domain means what? Done. So if I'm going to create the switch 1 as a VLAN number 200, it will never pass on the information to the anybody. So he's trying to pass the information, but the switch 2 is the VTP mode is off, means VTP is disabled. So you can see the 200 on this guy, but you cannot see the 200 on the switch 2, not even the switch 3. Not even the switch 3 you will have the 200. So that's a meaning of which you already have discussed, right? So you can, if you can disable the off mode like I did for the globally, you can disable the interface as well as the VTP, no VTP. So if you want to make the no VTP, it will disable the VTP on an interface level as well. So let me do VTP mode as a server. That's gonna make this guy as a secondary server, not the primary server. Primary server configuration you are only gonna do from the privilege mode. So now again, if I'm gonna send the information, now you can see that I'll create the VLAN number 300 comes on the switch 2 now, and the switch 3 as well. This is all of the basic funda. Now whatever. Let's take example. This is my primary server, right? So in the case of version 1 and version 2, what happened? If the one server goes down, another server automatically not automatically, it is already a primary server. So in a version 2 and version 1, all the switches is behave like a server and server. There is no issue. But the problem comes in the picture in the version 3. When this guy goes down, take example, I'm going to say the interface E0/0 is down right now. Went down, right? So if you see the do show VLAN, do show VTP status, I'm still a primary server. So if this guy goes down, who's going to manage the network now? Who's going to manage the network now? So in that case, you need to make any of the switches as a primary server. So I just need to go on the switch 3. I'll make this guy as a VTP primary for the VLAN. So you need to manually go on the switch 3 and say that, hey, you need, now you are the primary server now. So you are no more secondary, you are the primary now. Still this switches is down right now, right? The switch is down, so we'll hold on for a second. So this is the primary server. And now I can create the VLAN from there. Because previously I could not create the VLAN because it was secondary server. So now I can create the VLAN number maybe 600. Done. So now if you see what happened, once the switch 3, I make this guy the primary server, he sent the message to all the domain, say that, hey, I'm the new daddy, 0300. And now it will receive the 600 as well, switch 2 as well. Do show VLAN brief and do show VTP status. So now the primary ID is changed now. Previously it was 100, now it's a 300, which is the switch 3. Right? But understand the concept. Now the network engineer comes in the picture. Network is like, hey, let me correct this one. What the issue has happened in the switch one. So it was a secondary server, right? It was a secondary server. It was a secondary server, but just for the temporary, I make this guy a primary server because my primary server is not there, right? But this network engineer has resolved the issue and said that, hey, now you are fixed. In that case, what happened? I need to, if I'm going to resolve this guy, let's make a no shutdown. Then what happened? If you see, show VTP status, he's also primary server and he is also primary server now. But how about the switch to now? Switch to, if you see, switch to is saying that according to me, switch to is the primary server. So in that case, if you go on the switch one as the VLAN window 700, do so VLAN brief, I got the VLAN. I'm going to see the VLAN. Do show interface trunk. The reason is that if I'm going to create the on this guy's a VLAN number 800, I can float this information to the switch to now. VLAN 800. But when the switch one is trying to create it, it's not flooding the information because according to the switch to still, he is the daddy. So if you want to make this guy as a primary server again, then what you have to do that you need to go in this guy, say the VTP server, VTP primary server, and use the force keyword. Do not check the conflicting the device. So when I say the force, now what happened? The switch one is going to inform to the everyone, hey, now I'm come back and I like to become the primary. So now you can see that if I'm going to create the do show VTP status is a primary. If you check on the switch 2 now as well, switch 1 is now primary. Same thing on the switch 2. Now if I'm going to create the VLAN number 800, VLAN number 900 on this guy now switch 3, I could not because now you are not in the primary server anymore. Because the switch 1 has told you that, now it came back. So this guy will take a role again back to the secondary server. So if the primary goes down, right? If the primary goes down, then you need to make a other server as a primary server manually. Once the primary comes up, then you need to forcefully say that you are the primary server. That's how you can make the redundancy over. Not redundancy, you can make a primary and secondary over. Redundancy is not a redundancy in the sense of what? Automatically it will not become, and that's a good thing. Security perspective, that's a good thing. You need to do manual configuration each and everything, right? Same thing. Now you can see one more thing. Take example. I can say the VTP password is what? CCI 123. I can do the VTP password and like what? It's a normal way, but I do have ability. I can, if I'm gonna put the VTP password CCI 123, then what happened? I can see the password, right? I can use the hidden keyword. It means that now I cannot see the password. Do show VTP password. It's a encrypted format. So the good thing we have over here is what? Secure way to enable the VTP password, which is not possible in the case of 123. Sorry, in the case of version 1 and version 2. So few things that I want to make the right point over here. So this is all done. This is all done. So take example. So the configuration for the primary server. The configuration for the primary server, you have to do in privilege mode, right? You cannot have two primary server at the same time. So if the primary gone down, then you need to manually make another secondary server as a primary. After some time, if the primary comes up, then forcefully, you need to make switch one as a switch as a primary. Once you define force keyword, automatically other primary server become secondary server. As a now it's clear to you. As a it's clear to you.
Yes, sir, it's clear to me.
Now, concept is regarding the what? The private VLAN. So how I can say the private VLAN information. So if you see that's the VLAN number 100, right? Okay. First of all, if you see the mode is, we don't have any issue. The mode is right now my server. I can do the private VLAN configuration. That's a good part. There's no issue in this version 3, but in the version 2 and version 1, we have a requirement. The requirement is what the mode should be transparent, then you can do the private VLAN configuration. But in this case, we don't have any issues. So we just say the VLAN number 100 or maybe 750. What happened? VTP will not open the news. Oh, I said the password, right? After setting the password, it will lose the role of the primary server. So if you see the use of VTP status, it's not no more a primary server. So you need to make again the primary server just for the security hack, nothing else. So VTP primary and for the VLAN, right? Enter the password CCI123. So when you set the password, you need to again make this as a primary. For that, VLAN 750, private VLAN community. All done, right? So private VLAN. So VLAN, private VLAN. And if you see, this information will flood into the every guy. Which is not possible. Again, I'm repeating, which is not possible in the case of what? Version 2. So the box-to-box configuration has totally removed in the version 3 for the private VLAN. So for this guy, right? So video version 3 provide the centralized management for the VLAN, the private VLAN and VLAN as well. So this was the version 1, version 2 only for the doing for the VLAN. Now he's doing for the what? He's doing for the VLAN at the same time. Private VLAN as well. We do have ability. So if you're going to configure the switch 1, it will flood the information to the switch 2, switch 3, and remaining switches as well. Now, same way, if you do the MST configuration. So for the MST, what happened? You need to make this guy as a primary first of all. Okay, one more thing. So right now, this guy is the primary server. This is the secondary. This is the secondary. This is the primary server for what? It's for the VLAN. Okay, it's for the VLAN. For the remaining guys, the MST, it's a secondary right now. Sorry, MST, it's a transparent. So all the switches is behave like a transparent for the what? MST. So transparent means what? If I'm going to do the MST configuration, it will only present on the switch 1, it will never send the switch 2, right? That's the meaning of transparent. Same thing, I need to make a MST configuration on the switch 2 and switch 3 as well. So the default behavior is what? It's a transparent. It means box to box configuration. I need to make a centralized. So here you do have ability. What you can do that, the beauty part, just to divide the role, I can say that. For this guy's a primary server for the VLAN, and he's the secondary server for the VLAN. He's the secondary server for the VLAN. I can do that one thing. I'll make this guy's a primary server for MST. And this guy's a secondary server for the MST. We do have ability, man. We can do that. So let's go on a switch 3 right now. That's the VLAN, VTP mode. Server to MST. Do so VTP status. Okay, perfect, right? And all these guys are VTP mode client for MST. All done, right? So now if I'm going to create the any VLANs over there, sorry, MST configuration. For example, if you see the spanning tree MST mode MST. Right? Right? And right. I'm sorry. Right? If I'm going to create the anything on the switch 3, for example, I say that let me enable the MST configuration map first of all, spanning tree mode MST. Spanning tree mode MST. So if I'm going to switch 3, I'll say that, hey, let me create something for you. Let me check whatever the VLANs I have first of all. I have a 1020, right? So I'm going to convert this guy into the one instance. So spanning tree mode MST configuration. MST configuration. And name will be CCI. Division number will be 1. And I say the instance number 10, 20, 100, 200. Right? Instance. Seriously? 10, 20, 100, and 200. Instance number 2, I'll make this guy as a 5, 7, and 750. That's perfect. 5, 700, and 750. All done, right? Exit. What? Chemistry is in your computer system. I don't need to configure the reason for this one. So MST configuration. So MST. One minute, guys. I seen this output first time. Show BTP status. The mode.
So this one needs to be primary server for the config.
I'm making it. I'm making it. Seven. Password mismatch. BTP primary. MST. CCNA. As possible. CCNA is a password. BTP primary. MST. Enter the BTP password. CCI 123. हेलो, हाँ बोलो। हाँ बोलो, हाँ हाँ बोलो बोलो। नहीं, 5 मिनट दो, क्लास में। So now he is the primary. So now we can do that one thing. Same configuration, I need to apply it, man. Let me do it in the notepad.
There was issue with the password, yeah?
Yeah, there's just the password. VTP, spanning tree, MS node, MST spanning tree, MST configuration, and the name will be CC, revision will be one. Instance, INS, INST, AMC, instance on the number, or the VLANs we have. 10, 20, 30, 10, 20, 100, 200. Instance number 2, VLAN 300 and 500. All right. Perfect. All done. So I just configure on the switch 3 and it's plotted in first everywhere. Right. But switch 3 is the primary server for the MST. So I cannot do the any VLAN configuration. I can say the VLAN number 2001. I cannot create it because you are not a primary for the VLAN. Primary for the VLAN is the switch 1.
Is switch 1. Switch
And
1 is
primary
the
for the
primary.
MST is the switch 3. So that's you
Okay.
can segregate the load.
That's amazing.
Okay, let me write down this point. We can.
So sir, nowadays in production network, I
1
think
minute.
this
Asad, 1 minute. Let me write down. You can configure switch 1 as a primary server for VLAN and can also configure switch 3 as a primary server for MST. So this way, you can achieve greater scalability and decrease the load on the switch side. So dividing the task in later with the help of yeah, go on.
yeah, what I said that nowadays in production network, in terms of scalability and security, so this VTP version 3 will be used a lot.
You
Am I
see,
right?
that's why I initially I told you that, right? So it's depend on the requirement. So if you have maybe 5 switches in your network, 4 switches in your network, then why do and you have requirement of the 100 VLANs only, 10 VLANs only, then why do we need a version 3?
Yeah, if the requirement and that 10 switches the security and these things, so
Then you can
we have to.
Yeah, we have to.
Okay.
The reason is that see VTP, the version 3, many person has no knowledge of the VTP version 3. They only know about the version 1 and version 2. Even they don't have much knowledge of the version 1 version 2. So
Yes.
doing the configuration is an easy task, right? Managing the things is a very hard one.
Yeah.
All good?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I'll share you the spend file to you guys as well. You can just put the hack if you want device, you can advise.
Yeah.
Okay, so